My wife tried to steal my business in secret, but I knew her divorce plan before she filed. Let me rewind the clock a bit so everything makes sense. My name's Grant. I'm 38 years old, a small business owner in the Midwest, and until recently, I was married to Alexandra, 36, sharp as a tack, and someone who knew how to charm a room when it suited her. On paper, we looked like the perfect couple, two professionals building a life together, hosting nice dinners, mowing the lawn on weekends, the works. We've been married for 7 years. No kids yet, but not by lack of trying, just never quite lined up. What did line up was Alexandra's family always being around. Her dad, Henry, had this old-school way of asserting dominance. Every conversation felt like an interrogation. Her mom, Ingrid, acted like our home was her showroom, constantly offering suggestions on how to make it more presentable. And then there's Thomas, her older brother. Imagine someone who never stopped believing he was the smartest person in every room. The guy practically had a spreadsheet of reasons why I wasn't good enough to marry his sister. He brought his wife, Rachel, to every event, and though she didn't say much, her eyes said plenty. Now, I've hosted Alexandra's family for spring dinners every year since we got married. It's a production, cleaning the house, prepping food, pretending their passive aggression doesn't grind my nerves raw. I've been smoking a brisket for 2 days, lining up drinks, coordinating details down to the coasters. Alexandra had been off all week. Not cold, just distracted, glancing at her phone a lot. When I asked, she said it was work. Her firm was pushing hard to make her partner, and that meant long hours and extra pressure. I bought it, because that's what you do when you trust someone. That Saturday started like all the others. I cleaned up, set the table, and chilled the wine. The first knock came just after 4 p.m., Henry and Ingrid, right on schedule. Henry dove straight into questions about my business, like always. Ingrid made a beeline for the living room to critique the lighting. Next came Thomas and Rachel. He handed me a bottle of wine I didn't ask for and gave me a grin that barely passed as polite. Rachel gave me a quick hello and moved to the kitchen with Alexandra. And speaking of Alexandra, she looked tense. Kept checking her phone like she was waiting for something. At the time, I thought she was nervous about hosting. I didn't realize she was watching for a message from her escape plan. Dinner prep moved along. I juggled drink orders, appetizers, and the smoker outside. Around 6, I realized we were short on chairs. No big deal. I headed to the garage to grab the folding ones. That's when it happened. The garage has this thin wall that backs onto the dining area. Windows were open. Voices carried. I heard Thomas first. He was laughing, of course. Still can't believe you married that guy. Dad's right. Ditch him before kids lock you down. Then I heard Alexandra. Already working on it. Lawyer says we can take half his business. I froze. Just like that. My hands tightened around the chair, and the world got very quiet. It wasn't shocking, not exactly. It was the kind of stillness that comes before a storm. I didn't say a word, didn't interrupt. I backed out of the garage, took a few deep breaths, and walked in through the front door like I hadn't just heard my wife planning to gut me behind my back. The night went on like normal. Compliments on the food. Jokes. Henry is lecturing me about ROI. But Alexandra's sister, Magnolia, she's the youngest, quiet but observant, kept shooting me looks, like she knew something didn't add up. Later that night, once everyone was gone and Alexandra had gone to bed, I sat in the living room for a long time. And then I opened her laptop. She never changed her password. Third try. I was in. What I found wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditation. Emails with a divorce attorney. Notes about our finances. A timeline. Everything was planned. Once she made partner, she'd file. Claim half of everything. And there it was, Dominic. The guy she was really texting all week. The guy she'd been meeting. I didn't sleep. I just watched the sun rise from the kitchen window, one fact echoing in my head. She thought I'd never see it coming. But she forgot. I notice everything. I didn't tell anyone right away. I didn't scream, throw things, or storm into the bedroom demanding answers. No, I stayed calm. Very calm. Too calm. The next morning, I made her coffee just like always, hazelnut creamer, splash of oat milk, 2 sugars. She sipped it with a smile, completely unaware I knew everything. That was the moment I realized just how far gone she was. There wasn't even guilt in her eyes. Just routine. While she showered, I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, going over the emails again. The tone of her messages to Dominic made my stomach turn. This wasn't some mistake. This was planned. Cold, calculated, and cruel. By noon, Alexandra left to run errands. I waited 5 minutes, then grabbed the flash drive from my desk and copied everything. Emails, spreadsheets, even her call logs from the cloud account she never logged out of. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. but I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. Then I called the one person I knew wouldn't feed me platitudes. My brother, Nate. Nate's a corporate auditor. Meticulous, blunt, allergic to drama. When I told him what I'd found, he went quiet for a second, then said, "You need a lawyer." Yesterday. He wasn't wrong. I spent the rest of that day making appointments. 2 separate consultations. I wasn't sure who I'd hire yet, but I wanted options. I needed someone sharp, someone who wouldn't just help me fight, but help me win. By the time Alexandra came home, I had everything locked away on an external drive. She asked how my day was, and I told her I was exhausted from all the cleaning. She didn't even look up from her phone, just nodded. That night, I lay awake next to her, replaying every conversation, every glance, every offhand comment over the past 6 months. It was all there. I'd just been too trusting to connect the dots. The next few days were filled with silence. I didn't confront her. I needed time to think, plan, and prepare. And the more I watched her, the more I noticed how casual she was about it. Like she believed she was already in control. Like she'd already moved on. One afternoon, I saw her texting in the hallway. She turned her screen slightly away from me. That same nervous smirk she used to flash when she knew she'd broken something in the kitchen but didn't want to admit it. I made a note of the time. Later that night, I cross-referenced her text log. Dominic. Again. That's when I decided. If she wanted to play a long game, I'd make it longer. She was building a case against me in secret, piece by piece. 2 weeks passed. That's how long I played dumb. 2 weeks of watching her routine unravel. New clothes, longer hours, secretive texts. While I quietly tracked every move she didn't know I saw. I met with 2 different lawyers. The second one, Natalie Park, was a specialist in high-asset divorce defense. Sharp, focused, and absolutely ruthless in all the right ways. The kind of lawyer who saw through smiles and wasn't afraid to play offense. I didn't just hire her. I retained her preemptively. The first thing she told me was to gather everything I could: property titles, bank statements, tax returns, anything with a paper trail. I spent late nights scanning, organizing, and filing. I used her own spreadsheet format against her, itemizing every asset she tried to claim, and linking proof of where and when I acquired them, long before our marriage. Every time Alexandra left the house, I moved quickly, backing up cloud data, photographing physical documents she stashed in her home office, even syncing her old tablet to monitor her messages. And Dominic? Oh, Dominic made it easy. He texted constantly. Careless. Pictures. Plans. Complaints about me. One gem even included a half-baked plan for the 2 of them to move out west once it all clears. Meanwhile, Alexandra acted like she was already out of the marriage. She stayed out late, wore perfume she hadn't touched in years, and suddenly got really into Pilates. I wasn't jealous. I was documenting. Magnolia, the only member of Alexandra's family who ever treated me like a human being, reached out one night. Said she wanted to grab coffee, just the 2 of us. I agreed. We met at a quiet place downtown. Magnolia didn't waste time. "I don't know what's going on," she said, "but you look like someone who's getting ready to disappear." I almost laughed. More like someone preparing for impact. She didn't press, but her eyes said it all. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. My sister plays dirty." That was the first real confirmation I wasn't crazy. That someone close to her had seen the mask slip. By the end of the 3rd week, I had a full timeline mapped out. Every meeting, every late night, every lie. I wasn't just building a defense. I was assembling a story. One she wouldn't be able to rewrite. All I had to do now was wait for her to make the next move. She'd started asking more pointed questions about our savings and retirement plans, disguised as casual curiosity, but I knew better. She was laying the groundwork. And I was ready, waiting for her to make her next play so I could counter with mine. It happened on a Sunday morning. That's when Alexandra finally pulled the trigger. She came downstairs holding a mug of coffee, dressed like she hadn't slept much. Hair perfectly styled, makeup on, but her eyes? Cold. Calculated. "Grant," she said, "we need to talk." I knew that line was coming. I'd played it in my head every day for 3 weeks. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, the same one I had built by hand during the early years of our marriage, and gave me her best performance. Calm, confident, rehearsed. Said she felt like we'd grown apart. Said she needed space. Said this didn't have to be ugly. I just nodded, asked if she wanted cream for her coffee, and let her talk. She seemed surprised I wasn't fighting back, that I wasn't shocked or begging for clarity. Then she dropped it, the separation proposal. She said she'd already spoken with an attorney and suggested we split everything evenly. Fair, she called it. I told her I'd already hired a lawyer. Watched her face twitch for the first time. You what? 3 weeks ago, I said, after I heard you and Thomas in the dining room. And that was the moment. The exact second the power shifted. She blinked, and all the color drained from her face. It was like watching her realize she'd been playing chess against someone who'd memorized the board before she even sat down. I explained everything calmly. That I knew about Dominic. That I'd reviewed the emails, screenshots, and spreadsheets. That her entire playbook was in my hands. She didn't deny it. Couldn't. Her voice wobbled, and she muttered something about being under pressure at work. She felt lost. That it wasn't what it looked like. You were going to take everything I built, I said, while smiling across the table and asking for more wine. She went quiet. That week, the paperwork was filed by me. Natalie made sure every detail was airtight. I wasn't going to get taken for a fool, not financially and definitely not emotionally. And here's where it got real. I moved out the next day. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to control the narrative. I rented a furnished loft downtown, cleared out everything that was legally mine, and gave her a signed list with receipts. No yelling. No drama. Just business. But Alexandra? She couldn't keep up the calm facade. She called Magnolia. Then she called my parents. Then she showed up at my new place the following Friday, unannounced, sobbing and demanding to talk. I made a mistake, she said. We can fix this. But I was already done. She hadn't expected me to get ahead of her. She thought I'd be scrambling while she stayed 10 steps ahead. Instead, I'd already crossed the finish line. By the time word got out about the separation, the narrative was already spiraling, but not the way Alexandra expected. She thought she could spin it in her favor, that I had blindsided her. I walked away too soon. But the people close to us? They weren't buying it. Magnolia, her younger sister, reached out first. We met for coffee, neutral territory, and she looked visibly torn. I just want to know what really happened, she said, barely above a whisper. So I told her. Not all the details, but enough. The conversation Alexandra had with Thomas, the emails, and the exit plan. I could tell Magnolia already knew parts of it. She just needed confirmation. And then the phone call started. Ingrid, Alexandra's mother, left a voicemail, her voice trembling with confusion. Why didn't she just talk to you? You two seemed stable. Even Henry, who once treated me like I was beneath his daughter, sent a message. Heard what happened. Let me know if you need anything. Yeah, that shocked me, too. Meanwhile, Alexandra's story started to crack. People close to her at work noticed the change. She was distracted, agitated, and not as sharp as usual. Word got around about the failed partner announcement. Apparently, it was postponed. And Dominic? He didn't stick around. From what I heard, he bailed as soon as she told him the divorce wasn't going her way. She began reaching out again. This time, not through teary apologies, but long, rational-sounding emails. Let's revisit the terms. We can restructure the financials. Let's do what's best for both of us. I forwarded them to my attorney, Natalie. She replied on my behalf with precision. Cold. Professional. Bulletproof. It was clear Alexandra couldn't handle not being in control. I hadn't lashed out. I hadn't begged. I'd simply stepped away, and it drove her crazy. Then came the final twist, a dinner party. A mutual friend invited both of you, unaware of the full story. I decided to go. I had nothing to hide. I brought a date. Her name's Claire. Kind, grounded, no connection to this chaos. Alexandra showed up, saw us together, and completely froze. She didn't cause a scene. She didn't say a word. But I saw it in her face, the realization that not only had I walked away, I had moved on. Fully. That night, she sent one last message. I never thought you'd be the one to let go first. I didn't reply, because she never expected I'd stop needing her approval. After that dinner party, things shifted for good. It was like Alexandra finally realized the game was over. The messages stopped. The guilt-tripping ceased. And for the first time in months, I had quiet. Real, undisturbed quiet. But with silence came a new wave of reflection. I started piecing things together, little moments that didn't make sense at the time but hit differently now. Like the weekend trip Alexandra had to take for work last fall, where her phone conveniently lost reception. Or how she started insisting we separate our finances for tax reasons. All the red flags I had ignored were now neon signs in hindsight. I stayed focused. Kept working with Natalie, my attorney, to finalize everything. Alexandra tried to stall. More proposals, more edits to the divorce terms, more attempts to reclaim leverage. But Natalie didn't flinch, and neither did I. Magnolia and I stayed in touch. She kept me updated in ways she probably shouldn't have, but I was grateful. Apparently, Alexandra was unraveling at work. Her pitch for a partner had fallen flat. Dominic was long gone, and some of her closest friends had started keeping their distance. No one likes standing next to someone mid-fall. Claire, the woman I had brought to that dinner party, and I continued seeing each other. Slowly. Steadily. She never pried. Never pushed. Just listened, asked thoughtful questions, and treated me like a whole person, not some broken project she needed to fix. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could exhale around someone. One afternoon, I was sitting on the porch when a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a photo album, our wedding album. It was the one Alexandra insisted on designing herself. Tucked inside was a note. I wanted you to have this. For whatever it's worth. No signature. No apology. Just that. I closed the album and put it in a drawer I rarely open. Not out of anger, but because it belonged to a different version of my life. One I'm no longer trying to salvage. These days, I don't think about Alexandra often. When I do, it's not with rage or heartbreak. It's with clarity. She wasn't the person I thought she was, but maybe, deep down, I wasn't either. At least not until I got the chance to see myself outside of that marriage. And what I saw was someone worth protecting. Update. It's been 6 months since that dinner, the night it all cracked open. Since then, my world has reshaped itself in ways I never could have predicted. The divorce is finalized. The papers were signed quietly, no courtroom drama. Just 2 signatures and a chapter closed. Alexandra moved into a condo downtown. Word is, she's trying to network her way back into the firm's good graces. Magnolia says she keeps to herself now. No more brunch invites, no more curated social media posts with Dominic, who, apparently, bailed the second her plan started falling apart. As for me, I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. I took a long, hard look at my business and made changes. Hired new staff. Let go of a few toxic connections. Refocused on the kind of work that actually excites me. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm building something for myself, not for someone waiting to take it. Claire's still around. What started as a spontaneous dinner invite has turned into something quiet but steady. She doesn't ask for more than I can give, and somehow, that makes me want to give her everything. She was there when I signed the final papers. Just sat beside me in silence. No judgment. No pressure. Just presence. The house feels different now. Lighter. Like it finally belongs to me. I found Alexandra's wedding album again last week while reorganizing the office. I opened it briefly, flipped through a few pages. It didn't sting, not like I thought it would. It felt like watching a movie you memorized but no longer relate to. I closed it and slid it back into the drawer. Not everything needs to be burned. Some things are just meant to be left behind. I still see Magnolia from time to time. Usually, it's over coffee or an unexpected phone call that starts with, "You won't believe what Alexandra's up to now." Last week, she told me Alexandra's still trying to figure out how it all slipped through her fingers. Still convinced it was some fluke she didn't account for. I didn't say much. Just stirred my coffee and said, she spent so long planning my end, she never noticed I'd already started over. Magnolia smiled. The kind of smile that says, I saw it too. Alexandra thought she could set the stage and control every scene. But she missed the part where I stopped reading her script. I didn't shout. I didn't burn it all down. I just stepped aside while her plans collapsed under their weight. Let her keep wondering why it fell apart. Some people don't lose the game, they just never realize the board's been flipped. And me? I'm not playing her game anymore. My thoughts. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about seeing clearly when everyone expects you to stay blind. He didn't cause a scene. He didn't beg. He took notes. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting them dig their hole, then stepping back. Have you ever uncovered someone's plan against you before they could pull it off? What would you do if your spouse plotted behind your back? Drop your thoughts in the comments.